We live in an era where online games are more prevalent than ever, and that's thanks to the rapidly evolving world of the internet. Hey, without the internet you wouldn't be watching this guy ramble about stuff. That's the essential for any online game, but what happens if the cord gets pulled?
How's it going? Gon here, and today we are gonna take a look back at some games that had their servers shut down and see what went wrong, cause there must be a reason behind it, right? Right? When we talk about games that have shut down, we've gotta mention Club Penguin.
Club Penguin was an MMO game released in 2005 for your local web browser.
Club Penguin came out during the golden age of social interactive MMOs of the 2000s.
Animal Jam and Toontown were thriving, but Club Penguin was everyone's favorite. But it wasn't like that since the start.
Club Penguin took half a decade to become what we all remember.
The original idea for Club Penguin was Snow Blasters, and it was meant to be a multiplayer snowball game. But that idea never made it outside of the concept stage. Isn't that the Club Penguin font? Wow, they really had the logo thought out. The name quickly changed to Experimental Penguins and became the prototype of what we know as Club Penguin, but we have charming low poly penguins. Like, come on man, admit you love these two. Two more versions of the now called Penguin Chat were released from 2003 to 2005, and these would progressively become closer to Club Penguin, which officially released 7 months after the launch of the final version of Penguin Chat.
But man, Club Penguin was something else. They had buffles on this thing.
The game was a massive success, and by August 2007 it had approximately 12 million registered users. That led the Walt Disney Company to purchase the developer New Horizon Interactive for $350 million. Club Penguin was no joke. After the Disney acquisition, the IP was expanded upon, spanning spin-off games for the DS. This is not Club Penguin. Everything was going great, till 2015. The game's popularity was declining, and the German and Russian versions of the game shut down that year. Things weren't great, and all turned to shit when Disney announced that Club Penguin would cease to exist to make way for a mobile successor, Club Penguin Island. Man, Island was so bad that it barely lasted a year. Fans were not happy with this decision. But going back to the OG Club Penguin, the game shut down on March 2017, and those final moments were sad.
Unfortunately, I wasn't a part of it, but seeing those clips made me realize I missed something I'll never get to experience. Yeah, I'll admit, I've never played Club Penguin, and that golden age completely flew past me. I was a bigger advocate for saying that met a worse fate. I knew people that played Club Penguin. I remember seeing ads on the Disney Channel. I remember finding plushies on the toy aisle. But I never gave it a shot. I never gave any of these games a shot. And I'm afraid it's too late for Club Penguin. Or not.
After Club Penguin's demise, fans took upon themselves to recreate and bring back Club Penguin to its glorious form. Various versions have been made, but the most popular one is Club Penguin Legacy, released in 2022.
I gave Legacy a shot, and 8 years after the original's end, I get it. It is a lot of fun, especially with more people and friends. I was banned. But those 5 minutes of playtime made me realize how good Club Penguin actually was, or is. I wasn't a fan of interactive MMOs back in the day, but one slipped through the cracks, and when it shut down, it was devastating.
Sony has fucked up a couple of times, but shutting down PlayStation Home is something I'll never forgive.
The early PS3 era was weird. You didn't have any games, and you didn't have any friends to play with cause everyone bought a Wii or a 360 instead.
But the diamond in the rough was PlayStation Home. Feel free to fight me for that statement, but it really was something ahead of its time. Releasing on December 2008 as an open beta, PlayStation Home was a virtual 3D social gaming platform where you could interact with fellow PS3 users. The initial consensus was mixed. Many people called it ugly and stupid, but over time, it became positive.
This game was great. You had your own apartment where you could decorate with all your expensive stuff. Trust me, the furniture in this game could get quite expensive.
The game was free, but all the income came from the furniture and avatar customization, and Sony did not hold back on the pricing for some.
Home was a lifestyle more than anything, and people ate it up.
The best part of Home was the thousands of virtual worlds based on other PS3 games. Yeah, Sony saw Home as an advertising machine more than anything, but it was great, and it came with themed furniture, cause I love wasting money. You had the Home Square, or the Hub if you were from North America, which was the main spot with all the ads and billboards and water.
I fondly remember this Audi apartment, and I don't know why. I'm not even an Audi fan, but the vibes were nice.
There was the annual E3 booth, where you could explore PlayStation's virtual booth for that year's E3, and hey, for a non-American fella, this was neat. I remember this world featuring a closed-off soccer field, and it was the coolest thing. My memory might be fuzzy, cause I can't find anything online. Maybe it wasn't a soccer field, probably it was something else, but if you want to get an idea of the space, it was similar to the arena from Rocket League, the colors and all. I remember people doing everything but play soccer. It was great.
But my all-time favorite space, really, the best PlayStation Home could offer, was Loco Island.
I've never played Loco Roco, but this island, it's close to home. I rarely played PlayStation Home by myself. I was an infant child, but when I did, this was always my go-to spot. In that music video, just tears in my eyes.
Hopefully you can now understand why PlayStation Home was so special to me and millions of people. But now, we get into the worst part.
On November 2013, the PlayStation 4 released internationally, and the fact that PlayStation Home wasn't available on it was a sign of bad things to come. On September 2014, Sony announced that PlayStation Home would cease operations and would be shut down on March 31st, 2015.
This was dreadful. I had known PS Home for as long as I can remember, and the fact that all of this would cease to exist was absolutely devastating.
And the day came, and a big part of my childhood was gone. Just like that. A few months after the shutdown, I got a PS4, but it wasn't the same anymore. So imagine my reaction when I first played Astro's Playroom on the PS5 and saw the PlayStation Home logo. After all these years, Sony acknowledged Home and immortalized it on a virtual PlayStation museum next to the greats, like the PlayStation Move.
Recently, fans brought back PlayStation Home from the dead, and guys, after all these years, you never stopped believing it. Thank you. Truly. If you think Sony was the only one that fumbled something as great as PlayStation Home, you'd be correct. But Nintendo did discontinue some of their mobile games, and sure, let's talk about some.
When Nintendo joined the mobile gaming space, everyone and their grandmas were shocked. Yeah, sure, you had your Mario Bros on the Atari 2600 and Zelda on the Philips CDI, but those were different. We're talking fully developed Nintendo from the mid-2010s, but they had a good reason for doing it. The Wii U was struggling. Hard. So why not leap on a continuously growing market?
So in 2016 we got our first Nintendo mobile game, Miitomo.
Miitomo was a social networking app where you could create your own Mii and communicate with your friends by answering questions about whatever. It could be about your interests or favorite food. Basic stuff. Kinda like Tomodachi Life, but way more basic with way less features. I mean, you could customize your Mii by purchasing clothes with Miitomo coins, but besides that, the game didn't give much incentive to keep playing, and that hurt the app on the long run.
Miitomo might have gotten 10 million downloads during its first month, but by 2017, many people dropped the game and Nintendo didn't take long to announce its end.
In early 2018, Nintendo announced that Miitomo would be no more, and its servers would shut down on May that same year.
I never played Miitomo, and to be honest, I feel like I didn't miss much.
Another example of a discontinued Nintendo app is Dragalia Lost, an action RPG developed by Gacha Games, but it was published by Nintendo. It released on September 2018 and was shut down on November 2022.
These were okay-ish, but Dr. Mario World was so fumbled. Oh my god, Nintendo.
Dr. Mario World was exactly that. Dr. Mario for mobile devices. That might sound boring, but I don't care. It was a new Dr. Mario and I could play it on the go. This game was certainly made to compete for that Candy Crush demographic, and believe me, they would have loved it, but they just couldn't see the vision. Dr. Mario World released on July 2019, and by November 2021, it was gone, reduced to piss stains.
And those final moments, man, I was there. Nintendo is infamous for shutting down their mobile games, and it's sad to see some of these go.
Like Mario Kart World, that game still exists, but they just keep recycling content. Nintendo officially stopped releasing new content for Tour since 2023, but they did come back for the release of Mario Kart World, but Nintendo has once again stated that this was a one-time thing and they're not coming back for Tour. Sure, this game is far from perfect, but just imagine all the content that's going away with it. The carts, the exclusive characters, the skins, the tracks. This game has a bunch of exclusive tracks that aren't available elsewhere.
But until that inevitably happens, enjoy Mario Kart World and all the other Nintendo apps while they last, cause if it's not Fire Emblem Heroes, it's going away, buddy. Leaving the mobile side of gaming, let's talk about the stupidest game to win Game of the Year. No, I'm not talking about The Last of Us Part 2. Close though. We're talking about Overwatch, but gone. Overwatch 2 replaced Overwatch, and it's the same game, you f***ing nutjob. And you'd be partially correct. But if I insert this disc into my old PC, it wouldn't work anymore, because the game, Overwatch 1, does not exist anymore.
On May 2016, Overwatch released to the masses, and saying it was a success would be a massive understatement. Overwatch was one of the biggest games on the planet during its peak, which lasted a good few years.
Ignoring all the controversy and changes and whatever, the game was doing good. But that was until BlizzCon 2019, and oh my god, they're doing numbers now.
Overwatch 2 was announced. It's Overwatch again, but with a new PvE mode and new content. The f*** you mean new content? It's not like Overwatch stopped receiving updates, just released a new stuff there. It took a while to release, but Overwatch 2 finally released on October 4th, 2022, and Blizzard's measure for Overwatch 1 was pulling the plug on its servers the same day Overwatch 2 released.
Look, I get it. They wanted to merge the player base from both games and release the aforementioned PvE mode, but still, there was no need to make a sequel. I was always against the idea of Overwatch 2 since day one, but from what I've heard, it ain't as bad as when it came out. But I still think it was a pointless release. In the same vein as Overwatch, we had another hero shooter that went up in flames and nobody cared. That was Battleborn. Remember Battleborn? This game came out the same month as Overwatch and failed terribly.
It was developed by Gearbox Software, you know, the Borderlands guys.
The problem is, this game came out mere weeks before a highly anticipated hero shooter. What were they expecting? It might sound like I'm shitting on Battleborn, but it wasn't that bad.
It was for every kind of badass, after all.
I'm sold, but I already bought Brink.
Overwatch did this game so bad that by July 2016, the number of concurrent players on PC dropped below 1,000, a 92% drop from the initial 12,000 players the game had at launch. In 2019, Gearbox began a year-long process to shut down Battleborn and its services. On November 2019, the game was removed from digital stores, and 5 months later, in-game purchases were shut down. And by January 31st, 2021, Battleborn was no more.
I mean, that's something you should expect from these hero shooters. Remember Concord?
This game was announced on a PlayStation Showcase back in 2023 with a teaser that didn't really tell anything and just left people very confused. Then 1 year later, on another PlayStation Showcase, we got the full-fledged cinematic trailer which, you know, looked fine, but they didn't show us any gameplay to judge. And then, yeah, they said it was another hero shooter.
We're here dying for a new Parappa the Rapper or Sly Cooper game, and Sony gave us Overwatch 3.
The game was developed by Firewalk Studios and cost Sony $200 million to develop, and for it to just go down the drain. Concord released for PS5 and PC on August 23rd, 2023, and it flopped hard.
Nobody played this game. It wasn't particularly unique, and it was paid.
Concord's initial price was $40, which was weird when every other hero shooter like Overwatch 2 and Valorant were free. So why purchase this random game when you could be playing with the big leagues?
Concord was so badly received that it had the shortest lifespan of a video game from a company of this magnitude.
Only 2 weeks after release, Sony issued a statement announcing the end of Concord and that everyone who bought it would receive a refund, be it digital or physical. Yeah, Concord received a physical release, and even after becoming one of the rarest PS5 games, it's still surprisingly cheap.
Just for $20, you can get literal paperweights. It's worth it. You can sink me in 15 years. Here's something funny. There's an episode based on Concord on the anthology series Secret Level from Amazon.
And this show came out months after the closure of Concord, and to no one's surprise, this episode was not great.
We've talked about enough hero shooters, so let's move over to a licensed survival horror game that met a similar fate.
So, Friday the 13th, right? Undoubtedly one of the most iconic horror franchises in the entire world. So take that and make a video game about it.
Maybe in 28 years.
Friday the 13th, the game released for PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One and PC on May 26, 2017, and it was okay. This was a multiplayer survival horror game set in the world of Friday the 13th, featuring iconic locations from the movies. You could play up to 8 players in one game session, and one of the players would be selected to play as Jason, while the rest tries to survive. Opinions for this game were mixed, but it was dumb fun. Due to licensing issues, the game servers were shut down on November 2020, but you could still play online via peer-to-peer matchmaking. But that was until December 31st, 2024, when all online services were discontinued, leaving only offline modes, which nobody played.
You know, it sucks when the game you suck your teeth into just disappears and you'll never get to play it again. But it hurts even more when it's a game that never hit mainstream. This next game was the saddest and most disappointing shutdown I've ever experienced, second to PlayStation Home, and I'm talking about the 2019 mobile game Hero Cantare.
Hero Cantare was a Korean RPG mobile game inspired by Webtoon, and these are basically Korean webcomics.
I've never read a webcomic in my life, which is odd. I mean, why did I decide to play a game based on them?
Now, to be fair, I did start playing it because the art wasn't like anything I'd seen before on a mobile game, and that title theme was simply glorious. Hero Cantare was a collaboration between three Webtoon series: Tower of God, a series that began in 2010 and it's still going strong, The God of High School, which ended in 2022, and Hardcore Leveling Warrior, which is a thing.
Maybe I'll check this series in the future, but for now, I'll let my ignorance run wild for just a little longer.
The game released in South Korea on January 2019 and had a global release on May 26, 2020, and I joined in on the fun in 2021.
Alright, like I said earlier, Hero Cantare was an RPG game. You built a team of 4 characters and you attacked by connecting icons of team members. Connecting 3 icons of a character, said character would perform a special attack.
And these were the coolest. The animations were really well made. But you might be asking, how did I unlock these characters? Well, that's where the gacha mechanic comes in.
In case you don't know, gacha is the same thing as loot boxes. You pay a certain amount of an in-game currency in hope of getting the character you want. But then you end up getting anything but the character you wanted.
Getting the necessary resources to purchase a loot box or a summon on these gacha games takes a good while, and most of the time you end up spending real money.
But Hero Cantare was different. This game was free-to-play friendly, in the means that you didn't have to spend a dime to get good characters and equipment. Maybe that's what hurt them in the long run, but the way they did things was simply perfect.
It was still pretty hard to get the best characters, but getting the necessary resources wasn't a tough job. Hero Cantare was all that: great art, amazing OST, fun gameplay, and a fair gacha mechanic. But the thing that led the game to its end were the developers themselves. Over the years, the game received less updates and, most importantly, less characters. We did get some collaborations. We had one with Squid Game of all things, but unfortunately, it was limited to a minigame and we didn't receive Jihan as a character.
In 2023, we received even less characters, and the devs began abandoning the game, which was really annoying for a daily player.
And then, it happened. On November 29, 2023, it was announced that Hero Cantare would cease to exist and the servers would shut down on December 28th. This sucked. Hero Cantare was the only gacha game I had played for the past 3 years, and seeing it go really made me upset.
I tried to archive everything. I recorded gameplay videos showing my account, I tried to archive every video on the Hero Cantare YouTube channel, which is still up by the way, and I archived the website, which doesn't exist anymore. I miss this game. I miss all these games, for better or for worse. Concord might have tanked, but people will keep talking about it until this medium dies. It was fun, millions were wasted, but at least it's not Overwatch 2. Imagine if they did another one, right? Oh, BlizzCon's starting. Now that's what I call abysmal dog shit.